Welcome to Timber&Terra. I'm Glenn, and this is a little tree island. So I'll sort of walk around it. But what our plan is, meaning my wife and I, is we have a couple locations, two over here and two over here, where sort of our legacy plan for our four girls is to build them each a cabin, for them to use in the meantime when they come to visit with their families, sort of a guest house. But for them to take over when we perish and no longer walk the earth. But we did want separation between all four of them because, all four of them may choose, not to keep them. They may sell them, who knows what, but just for some privacy. And this sort of tree island works good for that, between the one that will be over there and one that'll be right here. There'll be another one in there. Obviously there's all kinds of barriers there. On the other side we'll have to plant trees because the two locations over there currently don't have any boundary. So this I'm guessing is just some either large rocks or maybe some granite or ledge when they cleared the field hundreds or a couple hundred years ago, that they just couldn't move, so they just sort of left it here. And so it's sort of grown up with just junk. There are a couple decent trees, so I'm going to leave that red maple, and I think there's a cherry over on the other side that I'll leave. But what I'm looking to do is clear out all this junk, because there are a handful of fir, and fir works really well for a shrub because while they're evergreen, they provide that barrier all year long. They look nice, and they're rather full. See, there's one in there. There's some bigger ones from right here. So I'm hoping when I clear these sort of weed trees out that I'll find some more. But in any event, even if I don't, I'm sure there's some that will just naturally regenerate. Like this one here is trying to grow between whatever this thing is. So that's what I'm going to do, is just clean out all this brush. I'm not going to save anything for firewood. This one here I'll probably take down because it looks like it's quite rotten. So everything is just going to be brush. Later on, when I sort of make several piles or just have a mess of brush here in the field, I'll clean it up with my new to me skid steer and the brush grapple that I have not used yet on the skid steer, which hopefully will be a good test of that, and just take the brush and probably empty it somewhere over the side of the bank. So for this work, I think time lapse will be great. Well, it is mostly cleaned up. Several brush piles. So in the 30 years that we have lived here, I have never stepped foot inside this tree island, just sort of around it. I did not find a lot of additional fir trees in there, just sort of the ones that I was aware of on the edge. I think that was the first pile I started, and that one, and that one, and the last one is over there. So as far as the trees that I took down, that's an apple tree in nice bloom. The other blooming tree, it was a pin cherry, just sort of a junk tree. I think most of the bushy trees, like this one here, were speckled alder. And then of course the gray birch. So now that I'm in here, as I had mentioned earlier, there are probably some large rocks, maybe some ledge. You know, this is a huge rock here. You know, when this farm started, the house that we live in now over there, I believe was built in the mid to late 1800s, so I'm guessing the field here was cleared at the same time. So obviously they did not have equipment. They probably used horses, oxen, bulls, whatever beefy animals they had to help move rocks, and probably a lot of human power. But some of these things here were just too big to move. But since this was going to be an area that wasn't going to be field, they took the opportunity to throw the smaller rocks in here as well. So I think what I will do is bring my excavator over here and sort of pick out these rocks that I can. You know, save the trees. Some of these big rocks will stay. So it's actually more of a rock island now than a tree island. But I'll take some of these rocks out. And the other reason I'm guessing that I didn't see a lot of other fir trees in the middle here is because there's just so much rock, not a lot of organic material for seeds to sprout in. So I'm thinking if I take these rocks out and then maybe add some topsoil here, then the trees will probably take root just like they have over there where there probably was some topsoil. Alright, so the next thing we'll do here is to try out the brush grapple on my skid steer and take care of these piles. Just dumping this brush here off the edge. So down here in this little ravine is basically swamp. So as you can see, I've dumped other brush here before. I'm still learning how to use this, but as far as scraping up stuff, I find this works the best, just because I have better visibility of the end of the tines. I can adjust how far they dig into the ground. I'm just looking to barely scrape the surface. But if I grab a little bit of grass and sod, that's fine. The other way I can do it is to tip it down like this, sort of like you would a bucket all the way to the bottom, and then just tilt. But then I have to sort of lean forward to see where the tines are digging into the ground, and it's just not quite as easy. I mean, a big piece like this is probably not going to be a big deal. Sometimes I'm not used to how touchy these controls can be. I'm trying to consolidate this so I can basically make this my last trip. Any odds and ends that are left, I'll just pick up by hand. It's not a big deal. I think this pile is just too big to be able to grab most of it with one last scoop. Let's see what we can get. I think that big piece of cherry is going to tip over the front. Now this I have to put my seatbelt on because it's very easy for me to sort of lurch forward as this thing goes over the bank. I'd rather stay in the cab. So I'm just taking some of these pieces to sort of align them so they go across the tines instead of through them. I'd never be able to do this with a tractor because I just don't have enough visibility of where the tines are engaging. So, did a pretty good job. I mean, at least me for a novice, I was happy with how it performed. So this little bit of stuff that's left over, what I'll probably do is just make a pile on each side, because I'm guessing the next thing we're going to do here is come with the excavator, take out some of these rocks, get down to what looks like ground, and then, you know, maybe bring in some fill just to sort of fill in around these rocks. You know, these big rocks will still be exposed, but you know, maybe like take out that root ball, maybe not, we'll see. So some of this other brush and stuff I'll just collect another pile and come get that later with this. So what I want to start doing here is sort of exploratory. Some of these bigger rocks I may end up putting back. In fact, I'd like to put them back. I have such an inventory of rocks, I really need more. These ones that I'd like to just put back, I'll just sit over here. So what I'm thinking or hoping is there'll be a sort of a layer of organic stuff, grass and sod that I'll sort of scrape off the top. Probably a concentration of rocks with a lot less dirt around them underneath that I'll separate out. So I end up making generally 3 different piles in a couple different areas. One will be the smaller rocks, which you see here starting to collect here towards the left of the screen. Then some bigger rocks, which are just on the opposite side of the excavator, I think, and then a pile of brush. In the first iteration here, there's also sort of a pile of just usable soil that you can see here right in the center of the screen, just next to that big rock. Well, here we are. This is exactly what I was looking for as far as this tree to sort of not make it growing on at the edge of a large slope. I will probably fill some of this back in, but really just to reduce the size of the height of this. But when we come over to here, I think this is the first tree that I'm going to leave, so I'm not going to bug this. Just knock down this hill a little bit. This monster rock here, which might be ledge, might just be a huge rock, is going to stay. So I'll slope some growable dirt up to this, allow this to show quite a bit. There's that one, and the same with these here. There's a couple over there. But take care of these raspberry bushes. And then my plan is to sort of put back soil, which would include what I tried to separate out as soil right here. Then I'll bring some from the other area where I have my grizzly bars. But I have a bunch of topsoil that does not have to be a screen to put in here, just to sort of grow trees. The other piles I'm trying to separate out. So this pile here is sort of smaller rocks, sort of aiming for like 1 foot and less diameter rocks. I think I'll use this for some woods roads, put it in my trailer. There's some sort of deep areas, maybe some ravines where I want water to run through that I can use these rocks for. This pile here is larger rocks, so basically bigger than 1 foot. These I'll probably end up just putting back in there and burying. And then the last little pile is just sort of odds and ends of brush, sort of bigger pieces of roots and stems that I didn't want to mix in with the soil over there, just to make it easier to work. And I don't want any weird stuff growing that I don't need to have to worry about controlling when I'm trying to grow some fir trees and maybe some other stuff here. So basically from this rock to the red maple tree, I've got the sort of the profile, the height where I want it. So it's quite a bit lower. Took a bunch of rocks out, a couple weeds and root balls and brush, some big rocks. I thought I was going to be able to hide these big rocks back in here, but I think I'm going to have to add to my rock collection, unfortunately. So then the plan here will be to just bring some topsoil in to sort of smooth this out, and so I can dig a hole to plant some more of these fir trees, transplant them, I guess. So I started working on this side here. Some of that I'll get from the other side of the mound. You know, that's the furthest tree this way, the only one here on this side of the rock. So I left that one. I'll plant some more over here. So what I just started pecking away at now is this side of the rock, expose a bit more of this. I sort of like to do that, is just have more of the rock exposed. That's mostly rock there. It's covered with grass, but I'll rip that off. Well, just like before, I started some more piles on this side of the island. So same sort of thing here, just pack this down so that, you know, when I do put the topsoil on, it doesn't settle significantly, you know, after I've done whatever I'm going to do tree-wise. But so it's going to be a lot of the same. It's, you know, sort of trying to separate stuff out, you know, lift it up, drop it, separate out the roots as best I can, pick out the big rocks, put them there. And then the smaller rocks are in that pile over there. And then roots and brush over there. So we'll just continue that. And there's, I think, a bunch of smaller rocks here, bigger rock there. So yeah, it's just a lot of work. I mean, it's not bad. It's sort of enjoyable to do. I'm not under the gun. I don't have any time pressure. It's a really nice day. Can't beat the view. So I don't know, if I was to guess, you know, maybe a half done now. A couple big rocks here. I probably will end up taking this big root ball out. It might be a big rock underneath it. Maybe that's why that grew on such a big hump. I'm not sure. It's quite the repository of rocks here. So, contrary to my original thought or plan, I'm actually leaving a lot more of these little rocks in here than the big rocks. I get a nice little bunch of relatively clean small rocks here. I'll take advantage of it and then fill in any hole that I make with the smaller rocks. That just aren't as easy to separate out from the dirt. Occasionally, if I get a rock that's just a little bit too big, then I'll pick it out. I'm sort of looking for, I think I mentioned before, about, you know, a foot. So under a foot I'll keep as a smaller rock. And a couple reasons for that. One is my plan for these smaller rocks is to use to fill for woods roads. So the bigger the rocks are, the less easy it is to sort of smooth out. The other thing is my tailgate. Just the bigger rocks are more likely to get stuck in the tailgate and cause a little bit of a rock jam coming out than the smaller one. Well, I guess phase 2, is done. Phase 1 might be cutting all the brush and tossing it aside. Phase 2 is taking the rocks out and sort of shaping it the way I want. And then the next phase is going to be to bring some dirt to sort of fill in this, smooth it out. Hopefully have some soil deep enough in some places. That's not mine, by the way. I find those frequently all throughout my property. Fill in the dirt so I can plant some more of these trees. And there are some questions, you know, like here, this had dirt on top of it. So these roots go to this tree. This tree is not the most stable, it's sort of growing on the rock. But I'm hoping this will survive that little disturbance. Same with those, although those didn't get disturbed nearly as much, I don't think, as that one. And then to a lesser extent, this maple here, although I did take some decent sized roots out over here that belong to this tree. I'm guessing this has enough. There's some roots there from that tree too. I'm guessing there's enough here under the undisturbed that the red maple will survive. I think they're pretty hardy trees anyhow. Well, it looks a lot different. So I'm hoping it'll look nice, you know, with those couple rocks there sticking up and just some you know, a nice grade there. I might take some of those bigger rocks like that one, some from over there when I'm done here, to place them here and there, just to add some variety, a little natural look, if you will. So I think this video's gone on a bit longer than I thought it was going to, or maybe I videoed more of it than I thought I was going to. But in any event, I think this will be part one. Part two will be filling in this with some soil, some topsoil. I can grow stuff in, trees in particular, and then transplanting some of these fir to populate this, and then maybe set some of these bigger rocks in and amongst these here. So I hope you stay tuned for that, and I thank you for watching this one. I appreciate it.